Welcome to Your Vote Counts, a candidate forum jointly sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk counties and Capital Community Television. The League is a nonpartisan political organization that works to educate its members and the public about governmental issues. In this program, we're hosting the candidates for the Oregon House of Representatives, District 22. They are Betty Comp, Democrat, and Kathy LeCompte, Republican. We'll begin with a 3-minute opening statement by each candidate where they will introduce themselves and discuss their priorities. The order was determined by a previous coin toss, and we'll start out with Betty Comp, followed by Kathy LeCompte. Following their opening statements, the candidates will be asked questions and will rotate their responses. The candidates were not given the questions ahead of time. Betty Comp, will you begin with your introduction and your top priorities?
Yes, thank you. My first comment would be to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting us and providing us such an opportunity to be here and share our thoughts with our voters. House District 22 is part of North Salem, Woodburn, Jervis, and Brooks. And what I would like to share is I had come from a background of working hard and that grew up on a dairy farm here in Silverton, native Oregonian, although I can speak with a southern accent. And I have been a legislator here in House District 22 for the past 8 years. During that time, I have risen to roles as being the co-chair for the budget for the education continuum. That means every age of learner from birth to lifelong learners as adults. And part of that role also is being on the full Ways and Means Budget Committee. So my priority are really simple. That is to have remove government waste wherever we can, make sure that the dollars get to the classroom, and that we are using our dollars in the most efficient and beneficial way for all of our public. The other issue that I've been working on and want to do, and that we've started in the past 2 years, is what we call CCOs, Coordinated Care Organizations. And part of that is with making sure that there's prevention for our young children. We have insured over 100,000 children in the past 2 years that did not have previous health care. We want to make sure that they get the best start that they can. What I would share with you is that I will always have my door open to my public, to our constituents. I personally answer my own phone calls. I love going door knocking and hearing their concerns and what they want me to do in the legislature. And that is my priority, and that is to represent our district, House District 22.
Kathy LeCompte, will you begin with your introduction and top priorities?
I'm Kathy LeCompte. I'm a wholesale nursery owner along with my husband in Brooks. I started the nursery in 1980, and early on I recognized that not everyone down at the legislature knew everything about everything. They were going to need to focus or make votes on areas where they may not have complete focus: education, taxes, infrastructure. No one knew everything about everything. And I realized that as those people needed to cast a vote, it was important for me to go down there and talk to them about the things that would matter to my business. Over the years, I got more and more interested and ultimately rose to the position of president of our nursery association. I worked as the chair of our government relations committee, and I chaired our political action committee. All of those things involved my going down to the legislature, watching how they worked, and providing testimony for the things that they were voting on. The thing that triggered my decision to run for the legislature was the passage of House Bill 3405, which said to the business community, if you're losing money, if you're not profitable, you will need to pay a gross sales tax. And I thought that is just outrageous. In a time of, we were 2 years into a recession at that time, and I thought no other community is being told, no other citizen is being told, you need to go to the bank and borrow money and send it in, because that's what happens when a business loses money and when they have to pay a tax on their gross sales. Over the last 2 years, I've been working hard to raise community support, and I'm proud to say that I have a wide base of community support, people willing to look at change and ready for a new day in Oregon. So, looking forward to serving the people of Oregon in the legislature.
Thank you. Okay, we'll begin with our questions now, and we'll start rotating now with Kathy LeCompte on going first, and then Betty Comp. Here's your first question. Many of Oregon's most pressing problems require spending more money or cutting programs. What part of the budget would you cut or increase? And please be specific.
Well, I'm not sure that I accept the premise of the question that we can either only cut or increase spending. One thing we can do is get more citizens to work, which will automatically bring more resources into the state coffers and give us more opportunities. We're 4 years into a recession, and Oregon has gone into the recession early and we're coming out late. So one of the other solutions that would be on the table would be to get more people back to work, get more revenue in the door, and let businesses be profitable. Then we'll have more to work with.
Many of Oregon's most pressing problems require spending more money or cutting programs. What part of the budget would you cut or increase? And please be specific. Okay, Betty Comp.
Thank you. Having been firsthand at the dais of making those decisions, first as co-chair for education, one of the cuts that I was just approached about this week was the fact that we cut in education the scoring of writing samples for students. We wanted to make sure that they still had their reading and math scores, but it was costing a lot of money to hire people to score the writing, the students' writing. It was one of very few cuts that we, we didn't want to, but every agency took their share of the burden in cuts. Every agency has cut their budget 20 to 25% in the past 4 years. In the last 3 years, we have cut $3.4 billion out of the budget. And the impact on that, first of all, we respect our Constitution, and the Constitution says we will have a balanced budget. My priority for this upcoming session is to, again, look at the education budget and see if we can get as many dollars possible in the classrooms and hire back some of those teachers that we've had to lay off because of the recession.
Okay. On question 2, Betty will go first, and then Kathy. Here's the question. Regulations on Oregon's small businesses have been criticized. What specific changes to regulations do you advocate? Betty?
The changes that I advocate for business is, first of all, we need to really invest in our infrastructure and bring jobs to our state by looking at such things as the Columbia River crossing. There's this, oh, I just went blank, but I hope people will forgive me, but that what we need to do is
the Columbia River crossing.
Yeah, I know the Columbia River crossing, but the other piece is that I really believe we needed to have the corporate kicker go into a rainy day fund. We need to save for these days or the years when the funds are not coming in. With the revenue sources that we have, to save. All of us should save, and we do that in our own budgets to make sure that we have what's there when we get ready to weather a big storm. And whether that's a business, whether that's an agency. I just firmly believe that we need to invest in our rainy day fund.
Okay. Kathy LeCompte, regulations on Oregon's small businesses have been criticized. What specific changes to regulations do you advocate?
Well, I mentioned one of the big important ones in my opening statement. As a business owner, I deal with these never-ending regulations. I think I saw a few days ago that there's something like 11,000 different regulations on the books for Oregon businesses to have to be in compliance, and it's very difficult. The most egregious, really, I think, was the legislation that told the business community that if you can't be profitable and there's no profits to tax, then we're going to tax gross sales. At the time that passed, we were 2 years into a recession. Businesses were already trimming their expenses on supplies and on services, and they had nowhere to go except to also start laying off employees. That added an extra burden to the state of Oregon as those people went on to unemployment rolls, and we needed to support that. So we had the reverse reaction to what I think intuitively we should have wanted. We want to support our businesses and allow them to hire employees, and instead we made it difficult for businesses to function and forced them to lay off employees. That needs to change.
Thank you. All right, on question 3, Kathy will go first and then Betty. The governor has just said that he will lead a tax reform effort in 2013. What specific tax reforms would you support if elected?
Well, I'm not sure that I have a specific tax reform that I would offer at this time. I think a package is probably a good idea. Leaving everything on the table always makes sense, rather than selecting one item and fighting over about whether that was the best one or whether it's enough or too much. I think Senator Frank Morse had it right when he and Senator Ginny Burdick offered a package to overhaul the system as a whole, and I think that makes more sense than piecemealing anything together.
Okay, the governor has just said that he will lead a tax reform effort in 2013. What specific tax reforms would you support if elected?
Thank you for the question. The question that I hear, this question at the door, is every day. People want to know, what are we doing to cut waste in middle management government? We want to make sure that we are being conscientious with the taxpayers' dollars. An example that I would share is where we looked at education service district reforms so that the districts could, such as Salem-Keizer, could opt out of having a middle management of the education service district. We passed legislation that says that we cannot have just 1 or 2 people being supervised by a manager. We need to be using our dollars wisely. We respect those people's voices, and that we want audits, we want to be held accountable, and those things should be possible for everybody to see, and that transparency is critical in this process.
Okay. On our next question, Betty, you'll go first, and then Kathy. Are there any of the November initiative ballot measures that you strongly support or oppose, and why?
Well, I don't mean to answer this with not an answer, but I firmly believe that each one of us, first of all, I always share with people whether they agree with me or don't agree with me at the doors, just please vote. Many people are disheartened, and particularly when it comes to the ballot measures, that they are very important, and that I think that is a decision, whether it's the marijuana law or gill netting, which are very, very controversial. We absolutely do want to make sure everybody is having a voice in those. And I am still researching those issues, as I hope others do, and have not made decisions on many of the ballot measures yet at this time.
Okay. All right, Kathy, are there any of the November initiative ballot measures that you strongly support or oppose, and why?
I do strongly support the removal of the inheritance tax. As a small business owner, I can tell you I've seen many of my friends and neighbors receive property or business assets when a parent or a set of parents passes on, and then be told that the tax due is so egregious that the only way to pay for it is to have to parcel things off and sell off some of the assets, and in some cases even break up a farm or sell off enough of the equipment to where the business can't function and continue. That's wrong. Our parents, and I will be in this situation, our parents paid the tax already on all of these things. Most of the states in the United States have already removed their death taxes, and I strongly support the removal of the death tax here in Oregon to allow our small business community, and most especially for our farming community, to continue to function. And if it doesn't pass, I would certainly hope that this would be one piece of another tax package that I talked about a few minutes ago that would be included.
Well, I think we can get in another two more questions. So here's the next one, and we'll go with Kathy LeCompte first, and then Betty. What efforts by state government do you support to control the cost of health care?
Well, I especially am interested in the exchanges. I think it makes sense to set up a system where the businesses can efficiently find the health care that they're going to be required to purchase. I have a lot of concerns about the costs involved for those health care policies, but if we have to have it, finding the most efficient way to do it makes sense to me. So I'm most supportive of the exchanges.
Okay, Kathy, what efforts by state government do you support to control the cost of health care?
I am very proud of our state. We are leading the nation in looking at how we can have a unified plan to support our, particularly prevention plan for our children, and then helping our seniors stay in their homes where they feel valued and honored, and they've earned the right to stay in their homes. The health care package that I'm talking about is the one that we passed 3 years ago, and we are just implementing that, and that is the coordinated care organizations. And we are looking, and I shared earlier that we cut $3.4 billion out of our budget to balance the budget earlier, but we are looking with the health care package with doctors, physicians, whether it's a physical therapist, chiropractor, all those people are coming together to develop a plan for a patient so that you're not going and having multiple tests of the same test. We are looking at cost savings of approximately $4 billion in the next 4 to 5 years. We have federal funding to get us started in this, and we are the pilot for the nation. And I support that plan, and it is moving forward at a very quick pace right at this time.
All right. Last question, and we'll go with Betty and then Kathy. What other issues are you most passionate about that you want the legislature to address? Betty?
I am most passionate about seniors and the quality of care that they are receiving from our state and from their families. I see families that now have children, grandchildren, others living together to make ends meet. I really want to make sure that the quality of life of our people in this state improves. It has been really rough in this recession, and who more deserves to stay in their home, have a good meal, and have their a warm winter than our seniors, and they are a huge priority for me.
Okay. What other issues are you most passionate about that you want the legislature to address? Kathy LeCompte.
Well, I think the most important thing that we need to address are jobs in the economy. The nation continues over 8% for the last 4 years. We've been over 8% in unemployment rates, and Oregon is even higher. We're very close to 9% now in Oregon. Oregon continues to lead the nation in homelessness and hunger. We have the highest rate of food stamps now. The most important thing we need to do is get our people back to work. When they are able to go back to work, when we have jobs here in Oregon, we'll be able to bring money into the state coffers. We'll be able to offer more programs. We can stop with the slashing and the never-ending cutting of programs and put people back and put our programs back to work for the citizens of Oregon. Profitable businesses will bring even more money back into Oregon. It's just so important. That's the #1 issue I hear from citizens. They're very concerned. I see senior citizens telling me their sons and daughters are having to move out of state and take their grandchildren with them. So jobs and the economy is the #1 issue for me.
All right, thank you. Okay, each candidate will now have 1.5 minutes for a closing statement, and we'll start with Kathy LeCompte, followed by Betty Comp.
Well, the last 4 years have been very difficult for our nation, and they've been difficult for Oregon. As I said earlier, we lead the nation in some of the most difficult categories. Our schools were recently ranked as 37th in the nation. We have something like 60% of our students not graduating. We have high unemployment rates. We have lower than average per capita income. Although the per capita income for this nation has dropped by $4,000, Oregon is even worse. We are behind the nation by something like 9%. Washington, right next door, leads us by leads the per capita average by 6%, a 15% discrepancy between the two states. We can do better. There's opportunity. We have natural resources. We have creative citizens. We have opportunity. We can turn this around. But I tell citizens all the time, if you're satisfied with the way things are going, keep the same team. But if you're ready for a change, change out some of the players. And I'm ready for a change.
Betty Comp, your closing statement, please.
Well, thank you. And again, thank you for hosting this event for us. What I would share with our community is that I've always been a hard worker. I'm one of 14 children. We always learn to work as a team. I have 4 daughters, and I chose to start college at the age of 36 with those 4 daughters as a single parent. And I set high goals, and that goal was to become a teacher in 4 years. I did that and made sure I was always there for my daughters. I know what education can do for all of us, and it is my goal and my continued work after 8 years, and still going to do that, that every person in this state can know what a quality education is and can afford that, and that they can have the job skills they need to get the jobs for the future. My work on the budget committees and also the education policy committee, healthcare committees, brings me with a wealth of background information. And the other thing that I would share is I am a team player. I work across the aisle and with my colleagues for good solutions for Oregon.
On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk counties, I want to thank each of you for your participation today. Thank you also to CCTV for providing this opportunity, and to you, the viewing public, for watching and participating in your own citizenship. Ballots are mailed October 18th, and you must mail your ballot back so that it's received by county election officials on or before 8 p.m. Tuesday, November 6th. Please remember to vote, and that your vote counts.